Hey mathematics learners, welcome to Distance Learning with Lee, where I make learning mathematics super easy. So on today's video tutorial, we are still doing, compound interest calculations. However, in this question, right, we're going to be looking at what we, basically need to do if we are told that the interest is compounded quarterly. Okay, so please make sure that you watch this entire video tutorial so that you basically see what you need to do in this given situation. Okay, so let's look at this example, right? So in this example, right, we are told that Mrs. Dunn managed to save 50,000, okay, as part of the 80,000 deposit for a new car, right? Her parents are willing to give her a loan of 30,000 to be paid back with interest at the end of 12 months at 8.4% per annum interest compounded quarterly. Okay, we need to use the information above to answer the following questions. So here we can already see that obviously we're given a situation where we want to calculate, or we're going to have to calculate the interest that will be charged on a loan that Mrs. Dunn took on with her parents, okay, using a compound interest rate of 8.4% per annum compounded quarterly, right? So I'm going to just start off by just giving you guys, an overview of how you can basically view this situation. So here we are basically told that obviously, right, the loan amount is 30,000, right? Okay, that is how much she has borrowed from her parents. Okay, then she needs to pay this loan back, right, in 12 months, and they charged an interest rate of 8.4% per annum, and it's compounded quarterly, right? So what does everything mean here, right? The 12 months is just the payment period, right? She needs to pay her back. She needs to pay her parents back in 12 months, right? The maximum interest rate per year is 8.4%, okay? But the interest on the amount that she has loaned from her parents is added every quarter. Okay, it's not just added once a year, but it's added every quarter. That's what the compounded quarterly means. It just means that interest on the amount that she's borrowed from her parents is added every quarter. Okay, so I'm just going to use a diagram to help you guys see what is meant by that, right? So I'm going to draw my circle again. Okay, so that's my circle. Okay, now when we talk about quarters, I mean quarter, quadrilateral, four, right? Okay, divide our circle into four equal halves, right? So the first quarter, this is the first quarter, this is the second quarter, this is the third quarter, this is the fourth quarter. Okay, how many months do we have in the first quarter, right? It's February, March. Okay. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, right? So in each quarter we basically have 3 months. Okay, so if they're basically saying that the interest is compounded quarterly, they're just saying that interest will be added in the first quarter, in the second quarter, in the third quarter, and in the fourth quarter, right? So we basically need to determine what is that interest that is added in every quarter. Remember, we are told that the maximum interest that is being charged per year, okay, that maximum interest rate that is being charged per year is equal to 8.4%. Okay, but now the interest is not just added once a year. Okay, it's added every quarter. So what do we need to do now to get the interest rate that is being added every quarter? We're just going to take that interest rate of 8.4% and we need to divide it by 4 because it's added every quarter, right? So if you take 8.4% and you divide it by 4, you will basically get 2.4 2.1%. So that means that in the first quarter, okay, they add an interest of 2.1%. In the second quarter, they add an interest of 2.1%. In the third quarter, they add an interest of 2.1%. In the fourth quarter, they add an interest of 2.1%. Very important, right? Another thing that we need to do, we need to change the payment period to be in quarters, okay? What do I mean by that? Remember, right, she has to basically pay her parents back after 12 months. So that basically means that she needs to pay her parents back after 1 year, right? So we now need to change that 1 year payment period to be in quarters, right? So how do we do that? We know that, 1 year, in 1 year, how many quarters do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters. Okay, so we just want to change our payment period to be in quarters, right? So that just means that our N is just going to be 4 quarters, okay? Because 1 year is equal to 4 quarters, or in 1 year, we've got 4 quarters. All right, and we're good to go. Now, we can basically calculate, the interest that will be added to that 30,000 that she, borrowed from her parents. Okay, taking into consideration that we're going to calculate the interest that will be added in the first quarter, then the second quarter, then the third quarter, then the fourth quarter, right? Using, our understanding of compound interest, that interest is calculated on the accumulated amount. Okay, so every time we do that calculation, we need to make sure that we have that accumulated amount before we can calculate the interest for the second quarter. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so we've just done a quick analysis where we found the interest rate. Okay, the interest rate is 2.1%, and then we've changed the payment period to be in quarters. Right, so now let's look at the questions. It says use the information above to answer the following questions. They're asking us to calculate the quarterly interest rate. Okay, so here they just expect you to know that the quarterly interest rate is just the interest rate of 8.4% divided by 4, and then I've basically explained how we got to that amount. Okay, so the quarterly interest rate is just going to be equal to 8.4% divided by 4, which is equal to 2%. That is the quarterly interest rate. Question 2, manually calculate the total amount of money she'll be owing her parents by the third quarter. Right, so here all that we need to do now, we want to actually calculate what is the total amount of money that she will owe her parents by the third quarter. Right, so it basically means that we need to calculate the amount that she'll owe her parents in the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. So we don't have to go all the way until the fourth quarter. They're just asking us to just, calculate it up until the third quarter, right? So what do we need to do here for us to calculate the compound interest? Remember, okay, for the first quarter, remember we're going to do this calculation 3 times. So it's just going to be that 30,000 that she's borrowed from her parents multiplied by the interest rate of 2.1 over 100 multiplied by 1, because it's just the first quarter. How much do we get? 630. So it basically means that after the first quarter, how much will she owe her parents? She will owe her parents 30,000 plus 630, which is equal to 30,630. That is how much that's the amount that she'll owe her parents after the first quarter. We are not done. We need to basically calculate how much she will owe her parents in the third quarter. So we need to continue. What is the compound interest that will be added to her amount in the second quarter? Okay, so again, we're going to take this accumulated amount of 30,630 plus interest rate of 2.1 over 100 multiplied by 1. Okay, so what do we get? You'll get that the interest that will be added in the second quarter is 643 rand, 23 cents, right? Meaning that at the end of the second quarter, how much will she owe her parents? It's that 30,630 plus 643 rand, comma 23 cents. Okay. So how much does she owe her parents in the second quarter? She owes her parents 31,273, comma 23 cents. Okay. Last one. All right. What is the interest that will be added in the third quarter? So the compound interest that will be added in the third quarter. How do we get that? We are just going to take this accumulated amount of 31,273, comma 23 multiplied by the interest rate of 2.1 over 100 multiplied by 1. Okay, what do we get? We get that the interest that will be added in the third quarter is 656 rand, comma 73783, right? Meaning that the total amount that she owes her parents, in the third quarter will be that 31,273.23 cents plus that 656,73783, which is equal to 31,929, comma, I'm just going to round it off to 2 decimal places now, 97. So that's how much she owes her parents, right, at the end of the third quarter. And obviously, if you wanted to continue to the fourth quarter, we just take that amount, multiplied by 2.1 over 100, okay, to get the interest. Then we take that value, that interest amount, then we add it to the initial amount to get in total how much she will owe her parents, at the end of, the 12 months. All right, so that is how we need to now go about, doing this calculation. Okay, so manually calculate. You say, but manually, you need to show these steps, right, that I've taken you through. Okay, so then we found that the total amount of money that she will be owing her parents by the third quarter is that 31,929, comma 97. That is how much she will owe her parents at the end of the third quarter. Now, we're just reading the questions carefully. They didn't ask the fourth quarter. Right. 3. Calculate the difference in the total amount paid to the parents if the parents changed Mrs. Dunn's 8.4% per annum simple interest on the loan. Calculate the difference in the total amount paid to the parents if the parents changed Mrs. Dunn 8.4 per annum simple interest on the loan. Okay, so with this question, right, what they're basically asking what would be the difference in the amount that she would have to pay back her parents, right, if she was charged 8.4% per annum simple interest. Okay, and we'd obviously have to compare that with, that 8.4 per annum compound interest compounded quarterly. Right, so all that we need to do for this third question, right, I'm just going to do it here. We just need to find out, right, if her parents charged her 8.4% simple interest, how much would she owe her parents, right, if obviously she had to pay back this amount in a period of 1 year. Okay, so what do we need to do here? Remember, they said that it's 8.4% per annum simple interest, meaning that the interest rate or the maximum interest rate for the year is 8.4%, and the interest is added just once a year, right? So what do we need to do here? So to calculate the simple interest that she'll owe, or that will be added to the amount that she's borrowed, we're just going to take that 30,123 multiplied by 8.4 divided by 100 multiplied by, remember, it's just 1 year. 12 months is just 1 year. Okay, so what do we need to do here? It's 30,123 multiplied by 8.4 divided by 100 multiplied by 1. You'll get that, okay, the interest that will be added, right, if she's charged a simple interest rate of 8.4% will be 2,520. Okay, so meaning that the total that she will owe her parents will be that 30,000 plus that interest amount, which is going to be equal to 32,520. Okay, right? So that's just the first part. We're not done. We need to basically compare that with that compound interest amount, right? So remember, we just stopped at the third quarter, right? So I'm just going to take it a step further. I'm not going to do this, calculation again. I'm just going to continue where we left off so that we can basically get how much would she owe her parents, if they charged us an interest rate of 8.4% per annum compounded quarterly at the end of 1 year. I just want to get that amount there. So I'm just going to continue with the blue there, right? So for us to calculate the compound interest in the fourth quarter, okay, what do we need to do here? We are just going to take this value of 31,929,97 multiplied by the interest rate of 2.1 over 100 multiplied by 1. What do you get? You get that the interest that will be added in the fourth quarter is 670, 52937, right? Meaning that at the end of the fourth quarter, how much will she owe her parents? It'll just be that 31,929,97 plus 670, 52937, which is equal to 32,600, I'm just going to round it off to 2 decimal places. You'll see that it's 50 because it is 49937, and obviously if you round that off to 2 decimal places, it's just going to be 50. Okay, so this is how much she will owe her parents at the end of the first year if she's charged an interest rate of 8.4% per annum compounded quarterly. But now all that we need to do is we just need to find the difference in these two, right? Okay, so all that we need to do for us to get the difference is just going to be equal to that 32,600.50 minus 32,500. How much do you get? You'll get that the difference in these two interest rates is just 150. Okay, so we can still see that if a simple interest rate is charged, it's just the interest is less. Okay, the interest that is added is less compared to if interest is added at a compound interest rate. Okay, so that's basically the take from this. All right, so let's just see if we've answered the question. Calculate the difference in the total amount paid to the parents if the parents changed Mrs. Dunn's 8.4 per annum simple interest on the loan, right? And we found that the difference will just be 150. Okay, so that is just the difference there, 150. Okay, all right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video tutorial where I basically explained to you guys what you need to do if interest rate is compounded quarterly, right? The take here is that if the interest rate is compounded quarterly, all that we need to do here is just understand that the interest rate is added every single quarter. So it's not added just once a year, but it's added 4 times in a year. So that basically means that we need to change this interest rate to represent the fact that it's being added every year, because that 8.4% just shows that it's the maximum interest rate that can be charged in a year. Okay, it mustn't exceed 8.4%. However, what is the interest rate that is being added per quarter? It's just 2%. So if we're dealing with a compounded quarterly, you just need to remember that you need to take your interest rate, you divide it by 4, and you need to change the payment period to be in quarters, right? So it just means that if you've got 5 years, you just need to take 5 multiplied by 4. If you've got 3 years, it's going to be 3 multiplied by 4. If the payment period is 2 years, it'll be 2 multiplied by 4, right? And that just means that if it's 2 multiplied by 4, you need to repeat that calculation 8 times. So what we can obviously be, sure of when it comes to these compound interest calculations, they won't give you like a scenario where you need to, do calculations 20 times. No, right? Maybe they'll stick to, the 3/4 or something like that, or 3 years compounded, or something like that. It won't be like a situation where you now need to repeat the calculation like 10 times or 8 times. Okay, so that's just something that we can definitely be sure of, right? So I hope you guys enjoyed this video tutorial. Tell me, okay, from these video tutorials, do you have a better understanding of interest calculations? Okay, are you more confident on what you need to do when you have to, do simple interest, compound interest calculations? Please let me know in the comments down below. In the next video tutorial, we are going to be looking at income tax, right? I'm going to be giving you everything that you need to know when it comes to income tax and how you need to approach, those questions in your exam. So please make sure that you're subscribed. Please make sure that you click on that notification bell, and also please make sure that you share all these video tutorials with your friends.
That is it, guys, and I'll see you guys on my next upload, Distance Learning with Lee, where I make learning mathematics super easy. Bye.